Good morning, good afternoon, and good day, and welcome back to the Parc'd podcast by Parc'd. Today it is episode Sergio Perez. It is episode 11, and I think Sergio Perez is very, very fitting for this episode. Because it was a disaster class for the Mexican in Canada, and we are actually starting off with Formula One, and I'm going to chuck it over to Neil, who is back for this episode. You weren't in last episode, were you? Or was it? There was only three of us, and I don't think it was you.
Probably not. But hey, welcome back to the one for you two.
Hello. Welcome.
You're not in the cold of France anymore.
No, we are not. We will discuss more on Le Mans upcoming. Pretty sure... Yeah, that's another rain race to talk about. You know how I always... Like, what is my favourite style of race? Like, what's my favourite kind of race?
Wet to dry to wet to dry to wet to dry.
Wet race and a night race.
Yes. Never again am I saying that my favourite races are wet night races, because the wet night race was the worst thing in the entire world to be present at, okay? I would like to keep my wet night races to when I'm sat at home in the coziness of everything. That'd be great. But talking of wet races, Formula One headed to Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix before we head back to our Europe stint. Would you like to take it away, Neil?
I absolutely would. I mean, saying it was wet, I think, was an understatement. Like, that first lap, like, obviously we saw them go around for the warm-up, and I was just like, it's pretty damp. And then they got away, and I was like, I cannot see a thing. Like, you literally, like, couldn't see who was on what. And they were all on, like, I think most of them were on intermediates.
Yeah.
Apart from the Haas.
Yeah.
And somehow we had a Haas mastermind. You know, I wouldn't have put that on my bingo card for 2024, but, you know, Magnussen and, well, she was like the other one. They had such good race, like, especially Magnussen. By lap 4, he was already up to P4.
And who was ahead of him? Who didn't have to worry about the spray in the opening laps of the weekend?
The one and only Georgie. Apart from, the commentators annoyed me that so much. They were like, one too many mistakes for George Russell. And I was like, leave him alone.
Leave him alone. That man has gotten pole position for the first time since Brazil 2020.
But I think for the Haas, like, because they don't have confirmed drivers for next year yet, do they?
No.
Because Ocon, I know, is in talks with Haas. I think Sainz is.
Sorry, it's an automatic response.
Hey, Esteban Ocon is a lovely man, okay?
He is.
At least we know.
All I can say about Esteban Ocon now is nice things. That man was lovely. Carry on.
He does seem like such a lovely guy.
He is.
Oh, dude. Shame he's not very nice to his teammates. Yeah, so at least that kind of looks a bit positive. And really early on, we saw, obviously, the kind of the decline in the Ferrari engine, which I felt like it was due to happen. Like, we haven't had the worst Ferrari moments this season. Like, they've not been great, obviously, because they're not winning every race, but they're not as Ferrari as they usually are, I feel.
Bearing in mind, this is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the 9th race of the season. And up until Canada, they had 0 retirements this season.
Good.
So that's very good for Ferrari. 0 retirements and no finishes outside of the points. Everything is always P5 and above every single race.
Yeah, and then came Montreal. Well, obviously, Charles Leclerc had those huge, like, just engine issues. I mean, I don't think they really said what it was. I think it was mostly, like, the hybrid system, I think they mentioned. And not a sleigh race for Carlos Sainz. And I would say it's through no fault of his own, but like that, he ended his own race and someone else's, which just isn't great look for him, especially considering he's still actually looking for a seat for next year, and considering he was in talks with Williams.
Apparently, he was in talks with every team. He seems to be out
Doesn't
here at the
surprise me.
moment boasting about the fact that every team wants to sign him.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the kind of deal when he left, like, when he was leaving Renault. They were like, he was like, everyone's speaking to me.
I don't know whether it's kind of like a pressure tactic for like the teams that he has actually been in talks with to maybe up their prices, up their contracts or anything like that, or whether he genuinely does have every single team after him. But Red Bull have even come out and said that they're not interested in Carlos Sainz for next season. So that removes
Red Bull
two.
have done the Carlos Sainz train.
Yeah, like that removes two teams, plus Ferrari removes another team. That leaves 7 teams on the grid that are apparently after him, which McLaren are very obviously not after Carlos Sainz. So that removes another. That leaves 6 teams on the grid. And of those 6 teams...
He's running out of time, for sure.
He is. It's alarming how late he's leaving it.
I think these next couple of months are going to be like crucial for silly season. It's going to be chaos.
Especially with the way he reacted towards the Williams news, I think was quite telling as well.
But I think like Williams obviously have an issue on their hands as well with Logan Sargent. And you know, some people say he deserves another year, some people say he don't. I'm kind of with the side that I think it's harsh to say he doesn't, but I'm gonna say he doesn't. Purely on the base of just like a lot of other drivers who have more of a potential did not get the other year that they deserved. And there's so many upcoming that, you know.
I think I feel like with drivers, they deserve 1 year to adapt. Because one thing that is spoken about quite often is how different Formula 2 is to Formula 1. For it to be essentially the next step up. You step up from F2 to F1 and the differences between the two are astronomical. And so I always feel like a driver deserves 1 year to settle and then 1 year to prove. So 2 years. And I don't think he has really proven himself so far this year. But I say this in the sense as well that he has also had many, many setbacks. Obviously, he had to withdraw from Australia because Alex Albon needed his car. And since then, he has been running with Alex Albon's destroyed chassis. So, obviously, the odds have been against him this season, and it's very, very difficult to, you know, prove yourself when the odds are stacked against you. But if you look at the grid and say Oscar Piastri was in his position, for example, same driver that's been in the same amount in the same amount in the sport that he has, would Oscar Piastri be able to work through that kind of thing? Or is it just the fact that like it's driver based? Is it completely circumstantial? Or like what is the issue? I think it's very, very difficult for him to prove himself currently under the circumstances. But even under these circumstances, his highest finish is 14th in Saudi. And that was the second race of the season. Since then, he's had a 15th, which was only 1 place above somebody else because everyone else retired.
What's Albon's highest finish?
9th. 1 points finish
That's points.
Monaco. Yeah, apart from that, he's had 11th and 12th, 3 retirements, and a 15th and an 18th.
You know, Williams, I think the issue is that we're seeing Williams go backwards again.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see because they work so hard, and especially with George, obviously, because he was the one person that was actually consistently with them from the downfall to the rise, and we were seeing that rise again, and I think, unfortunately, it is going backwards.
But however, I did find out today that they haven't actually had an aerodynamics technician until now, for a year. They've been trying to hire for this position. Yeah. They finally filled the position after like nearly a year. Pretty sure it was nearly a year. So maybe we will see the rise of Williams, and maybe Logan Sargent will be able to prove himself. But I would say normally with obviously Alex Albon has been in the sport since 2019, minus his year out. So he should be performing at a higher standard than his rookie teammate.
Completely.
There is very, very rare chances that we see the rookie outpace and outqualify their teammate that is, is well
in F1.
Qualified,
you know what I mean?
almost. Yeah, that's got experience, well experienced.
There
we go. It's very obviously, not normal. But the fact that he has been outqualified by Alex Albon 30-0 is also quite a telling sign. However, he has outqualified Sergio Perez 3 times now.
I did see that, and I'm kind of obsessed with that stat.
Yeah, I feel like with that statistic, he should continue, remain in his seat. However, there are many, many drivers that do deserve a seat in Formula 1. And if you do have a driver that is continuously outperforming, then if this is meant to be the 20 best drivers in the world, you have to make room sometimes for a new driver to come in and replace.
And I think the issue with that is, if say I saw those stats without seeing any of the racing season, and I saw that Logan Sargent had outqualified Sergio Perez, I'd be like, yeah, maybe he deserves to be bumped up. Obviously not, but because I have watched the season, thinking actually, no, Sergio Perez was so below par that's not even like a congratulations.
Yeah. I do feel like, though, while we're on the topic of underperforming teammates, in a sense, one thing that I feel like we should talk about is the fact that people currently, right now, and have been for the past few months, have been talking quite negatively on Zhou Guanyu.
I mean, that car again is just like,
it's a terrible car, completely terrible car. But Zhou Guanyu is currently sat at P19 in the driver standings, ahead of his teammate Valtteri Bottas, who's sat at P20
with a lot more experience, a lot more, remember that Valtteri Bottas has won races,
and a lot of people are saying that Zhou is bad, and that if Stake are going to replace a driver, they should replace Zhou because he is underperforming compared to Valtteri, which 9 times out of 10 his positions are much lower. So he finished 18th compared to a 17th, he finished 15th compared to a 14th, he finished 16th compared to a 13th, and 15th compared to a 13th, but he has also finished 11th compared to a 19th, a 14th compared to a 16th, a 15th compared to an 18th. So I say it's pretty even game between the two, and I feel like people should stop talking negatively on Zhou when him and his teammate are pretty on par. And if you're not going to have the conversation about maybe Valtteri Bottas should also look to retire, then you can't say one should retire and one not when they are both practically on par with each other in terms of race pace and raceability. It's genuinely, the car is bad. So at this point they're both driving the car as well as they can drive the car.
I think, honestly, it's kind of difficult to say, because I would say that I'm going to call them Sauber. I don't care. I think Sauber need a refresh. Not like these drivers don't work with the car or the car doesn't. I think they need a refresh, almost completely. Who they'd get in, I've got no idea, and that's the only issue.
Is it Sauber
you don't want to have
that's becoming Audi?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they've got.
So, actually, to be honest, it doesn't really matter.
They've got Nico Hulkenberg.
They're going to be done in a year.
I was going to say, they're having Nico Hulkenberg come in next year, aren't they?
My brain's just thinking, I'm actually, that just doesn't matter.
Nico Hulkenberg's going in. I don't know if they're going to keep one of the drivers, if they're going to get rid of one of their, which driver they'll get rid of.
But I think, again, talking about, teammates, and I think one of the big dramas from Canada we need to talk about is Jacques Villeneuve versus Daniel Ricciardo. because that was a lot.
I think Jacques Villeneuve said what he said, and he was correct.
That's the thing. I agree. I actually think he was right. He was right about what he said. Completely. Like, Dan has not performed this year.
He hasn't performed since leaving Renault. I don't think he's performed very well since leaving Renault. He's performed.
I completely agree.
He performed worse in Renault compared to Red Bull, but I do think since leaving Red Bull, it has seen a downward slope.
There's
in
a
his
huge
performance.
decline. But I think there was an issue with the way he said it, and it was very unprofessional. And speaking from someone who's literally broadcasting, I was listening pre-race to like what he was saying, and he was like, "Oh, like I feel like he was a bit harsh to what he said back to me," and I'm like, the way you approach that situation, you can say that maybe he doesn't have the best results, but you don't. There's a line that you cross, and
I think a lot of people reset their views on him after Monza. Like they were like, "Oh, we'll ignore everything, every bad like result and that lot since Red Bull for that one Monza win."
I think the fact that Daniel Ricciardo got his first points finish in Canada, finished P8, it had a very, very good qualifying as well, that race. But that was his first point finish, and obviously his teammate Yuki Tsunoda has 5 point finishes now this season.
And I think the thing is, like, it is like, I don't know whether it's time for him to not retire, but move on. I don't know whether that's the case, but something's not working for him.
I get the sense that he is one of these drivers that is, F1 is the only thing I want to be in, and I have no care to be in any other sort of motorsport.
I agree completely.
Which I do think, as you're going into F1, it is a good kind of, if that's what you want and you want to set the goal, I think it's good to have it in your mind that all I want is F1 and all I'm going to strive towards is F1. And if you can compute those kind of manifestations into something that's going to happen, I think it's very, very good that you're able to do that and everything like that. When you are tilting on an age and a time where Formula One probably isn't the series that is most suited to you, I feel like you have to be open to other opportunities, because I don't think he's a bad driver.
No, I think he just needs a good chat with Jenson Button.
Yeah. Jenson Button would tell him to come to WEC immediately, and I think he would do quite well in WEC, personally. I think he'd do pretty well.
Because he has that mindset that works for it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know whether it's the reason or it's just a weird coincidence, but Dan, hearing someone say something bad about him, feels him.
Yeah.
Why do you think he just did bad in Canada? But
I think
he has the mindset that he can do it.
Yeah.
A lot of people probably disagree, and they'll probably say, "Oh, it's still like it's still F1. F1's still the same as it has been since it started." I think a lot of drivers, and it shows in their driving style, a lot of the older drivers on the grid are set in certain ways and race.
Evolving. It's all about evolving.
Yeah, and race a certain way, and F1 isn't that anymore.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can sort of see when drivers are starting to get to their end where it's like, obviously they don't, like, that's what they want to do. They've always wanted to do F1, like a lot of them. It's like the pinnacle of motorsport. Yeah, okay, but you need to start looking. Yeah, you need to start looking at other avenues. It's the same as jobs. It's the same as a job. You could be in a job for like 25, 30 years, and you will get to a point where you're like, I need to do something different. I need to do something fresh, something different, something that's not this.
Yeah.
If it turns out that no, I'm not that good at it and I want to come back, if you've got that much of a rapport with people, they'd happily welcome you back.
All you got to do is look at Fernando Alonso, for example. He went into F1, he got back-to-back world championships. He tried to continue on, almost found that his feet weren't fitting where they needed to be at the time. And he knew that there were other avenues out there for him that he wanted to try and experience and do something different. And he went and did those. He did IndyCar, he's done WEC. And then once those no longer fitted him and he felt almost achieved by that, he then came back to F1 and there was a place for him because of its because of who he is. Fernando Alonso is a 2-time world champion. He's a back-to-back world champion. He has some phenomenal race wins under his belt. And there was space for him when he wanted to come back, and he was allowed back. And he's done really, really well this season. He's only had 2 races where he's finished outside of the points.
He's been quite underrated this season, I feel.
He's been very underrated this season. I feel like people don't talk about Fernando Alonso much this season. I feel like he's very much looked past. Obviously, you've got Max Verstappen, reigning world champion, dominating the field once again.
I think because he was fighting for those podiums, and then it's like, obviously that hasn't happened this year, but he's still, like, consistent.
Yeah. He's getting He's getting anywhere from P9 to P5 every race, practically, at this point. And he's outperforming his teammate as well in the process. And I think when Aston Martin get a car underneath them that is good enough to compete for podiums, he will be on the podium. Like, that's without a doubt and without, like, any sort of failure. I think Daniel Ricciardo remaining in F1 because he thinks he can get a world championship is something he needs to look
realistic
beyond at this point. Yeah. Like, you don't
love that.
Yeah, you don't enter F1, join a team that isn't doing so well and expect to be winning world championships. Red Bull have made it very clear there is no seat for him anytime soon, after obviously signing Sergio Perez for what, another 2-3 years? 1+1 maybe 2 years.
Yeah, at least 2
potentially. He's not going to get a seat in one of the big leagues because he wouldn't go to Mercedes because he's the Red Bull boy through and through. He can't go to Ferrari because Ferrari have Charles Leclerc, who is their prodigy, as you know they see it, and they have a 7-time world champion joining them. He's not going to go back to McLaren. So where does he go if it's not any of them? There is no other team on that grid currently that he could join that he could potentially win championships with in the future.
What if he joins Alpine? Sorry, I just kind of had that revelation.
Talking of Alpine, Esteban Ocon's
Wait,
Esteban off the Alpine train.
I have something that I was thinking about quite recently.
No,
it's fine.
Dangerous.
So I think you can tell teams that have invested in future drivers, and it's very, very clear, right? So Mercedes, yes, they had Lewis, they're dominant, God knows how many years, right? But Toto Wolff has always had George Russell under his wing.
Since George Russell was 15.
George Russell built Williams back up to a thing where it was battling mid. Like, it was mid-table battling, okay? Williams, okay, it's dropped off now. George Russell got them there, and then he was given his seat in Mercedes. And he is now, with whoever now takes Lewis's seat, we don't know whether it will then change to that being, the future.
I don't know.
Ferrari have their golden boy of Charles, that they're bringing up their team around Charles and him being the main man. McLaren have Lando Norris. Okay? Like, loads of people, okay, they have Oscar Piastri as well. Okay? Lando Norris they brought in as like a 17-year-old as their reserve driver. They put him through an apprenticeship so that he could travel with the team, be the reserve driver, learn from Fernando Alonso, and he was an apprentice. He has like some sort of mechanic apprenticeship.
Has a degree from being...
Zach Brown has had him, and he is building up that team. All of them. And I think it's very obvious and obviously Red Bull have Max, obviously. But it's quite funny how the top 4 have a solid driver that they have put time and money into developing, and they are at the top. Yes, they have the money, but I just think it's very obvious that you can see other teams that don't have that stability of that insurance of following through.
Well, I think that's such an interesting point, because especially with the Alpine/Renault program, there's there's so many of them you lose track. But
basically,
there are.
I could not name you every single one.
No, but like, you look at the people they've put their money into. obviously we had that whole Oscar situation. That's unpredictable. No one could have known that was going to happen, like, at all. But then, so you've got someone like Victor Martins, who may never get to F1 because he's had all these promises, and then it stops there. Sorry, Katie, you know I love him, but and I was listening to Jack Aiken actually speaking, because he was part of the Renault program for a long time, and he actually quit the academy and went to Williams, who he then actually made his F1 debut with, because he became that trusted person. So I think the issue is like he said, he hit a point with Renault that you couldn't get further.
Yeah.
And he was like, if I go to Williams, that point doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. I can just go until, say, that's the F1 seat. Renault stop zones, like, back here. And I think that's, I don't know how the hell we got onto this, but, you know.
I don't know. I feel like we need to do a video deep dive into, and like an article deep dive into Formula One driver academies.
Yeah.
Because
I could speak about that for the rest of my life.
The fact that Renault and Alpine just went, we're going to cut all of it and then reinstall.
Williams, even though they may not be the top four anymore, they've always had that person. It was Jack. Obviously, it wasn't really George because he was more Mercedes, but he worked for them. They had Susie Wolf, who did a lot of stuff for them. They had Alex Lynn, just to add that in.
Alex Lynn, Alex Wynn, Alex Bin.
Shut up. We ignored, okay? Where's Porsche?
P4, baby!
We're top of the championship.
Top of the championship, pole position, P4 in the race after getting dicked on by another fucking team who didn't get penalised for it. Because why would they get penalised for it? I don't know.
Talking about penalties.
Oh no.
What's Pierre done?
No.
He's currently ahead of Esteban Ocon in the championship standings.
Sorry, when I hear penalties, I instantly go, what's Pierre done? It's a
flashbacks. Well, obviously, again, going on to Daniel, he got that penalty for his start, which was very interesting. Because we saw that replay and I was like, bitch did nothing!
What was it for?
And then we saw it again and I was like, so basically what he had was a clutch issue. And he came off the clutch and it rolled forward. Yeah.
There was a big issue when it came to Red Bull and car issues in Canada. Because obviously that happened with Daniel Ricciardo. But Sergio Perez retired from the race. And before we were filming this, I was like, hang on, why did Sergio Perez retire? So, because I can't remember, it's been a while.
Not good for Perez.
Yeah,
that's my note.
All Naomi's note says is not good for Perez, and I was like, brilliant. Don't know what that means. So I went to look, and the second I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember now. And this is a incident which I don't think was handled correctly. Sergio Perez spun out, destroyed the entirety of the rear of his car, and should not have been allowed to drive back to the pits.
Kept going.
Red Bull told him to keep going because they did not want a safety car because it would ruin Max's chances of winning the race. And they openly admitted that. And they basically got a slap on the back of the wrist.
Yeah, they got like a 25,000... Was it 25,000 euros? It was just like a monetary fine. That was it.
Which they openly admitted to willingly sending a driver on track with a broken car that could have caused so many issues for other drivers if they had been in the same vicinity as him. If that front wing had fallen off and smacked into a driver behind him,
tires could have gone from debris,
there was so many issues that could have got wrong, and the fact they got just a slap on the back of the wrist, I think, was pretty not good. Not good at all.
I think my highlight for the weekend was the strategies.
My highlight of the weekend was George Russell getting it on pole position
with
a margin of plus 0.000.
The race.
Plus, that was what do they call it? Oh, what is the word? So, a dead heat is where two competitors score the exact same time and there is no determining who is above the other.
But there is a determining.
Yeah, it's only determined because George set his lap
George
first.
did it first.
But it's considered a dead heat because the two were identical on time, essentially. A dead heat. That's what it was. Anyway, carry on.
You okay?
New word unlocked on the Parc Femme channel. Dead heat.
Word of the day with Parc Femme.
Dead heat.
Yeah, I just saw a tweet about Adrian Newey reportedly visiting Aston Martin's Silverstone factory.
That's why I've come out That's why I've come out in the green blanket today, because
I'm in a green jacket.
Oh my
God.
God.
What if we created the conspiracy theory? Sorry.
That is kind of like theories. When are we bringing back conspiracy theories with Parc Femme?
When another conspiracy happens.
We can find conspiracies. We can find conspiracies, guys. We have a whole August of videos that we need filming for. We're going to have to film something, by the way, at London. Find a time for it.
Why would I want to do that with you guys?
What the hell?
Sorry, just time out. Did you see Lauren Stantor's tweet?
Well, the one where it's what's it called? Targeting Kubica fans.
It says, for those who like to judge but actually have no idea, I did not have an accident with Kubica in Le Mans.
No, it's because he has a podcast. I think it's him and his brother have the podcast, right? And he said he might have to geo-block it in Poland because obviously they talked about the Kubica incident and they didn't want him to come after him. And then obviously everyone just assumed that Lawrence was the driver in the BMW and not Dries. So
I love that so much.
It's just it's the same but different. Sorry, you can carry on now.
I love the Vantors. They're just so great.
That's me too. Anyway, go for it, Neil.
Oh yeah, strategies. Just think, one of my favourite parts about a wet race is the strategy debate. And I kind of said that this really reminded me of Istanbul when obviously they had that terrible track conditions. I mean, I guess
I thought you were going to leave it at terrible track and I was about to fight.
No. I love Istanbul. Just to put that out there. But you know, they had obviously the issue with the rain and the oil on the track and the tires. And I was genuinely thinking we were getting an Istanbul situation where people were just going to run down their tires until they were slicks. We kind of did get that, but not fully. But then you just had the should we go now? Should we wait a bit? Oh, if we go now, is the rain going to come in 20 minutes? And then, which was it was nerve-wracking. It was quite scary. I was watching it I was like, oh, my heart's going pitter-patter.
Pitter-patter, pitter-patter.
But I loved it. It's so good. And I think I actually really enjoyed that race. And it's the first time in a while that I've actually been able to say that.
I thoroughly enjoyed Canada until, I guess you can probably pinpoint what moment I stopped enjoying Canada.
It's a shame we had all that fun and then Max Verstappen won.
Yeah, which that makes it now his 6th win of the season. And sadly for Charles Leclerc and his retirement from the race, that means the gap has now expanded more between Charles and Max.
What's the gap?
And also means that the gap has started to close up between Charles and Lando. There's 7 points between them in the championship standings right now.
Ooh. What's
Lando's
the gap between... Sorry. If Lando finishes the season P2 in the championship...
What? Shoot for the moon, babe. What if Lando Norris wins the championship?
Yeah.
Okay, don't. Could you imagine come Christmas, right? I have Lando Norris win the F1 World Championships and I have Jake Hill win the Touring Car Championships.
That's
I would be
Mark Marquez winning the MotoGP Championship. That's the one I can get behind. Let's go.
All I can say is,
Alex,
guys, that
Jake Hill
Porsche are
is
top of the WEC Championship, so I have
4
one thing going for me.
Jake Hill's 4 points off P1.
This is why
all my drivers and my riders are losing, so cheers to that.
I have WEC, and that's all for now. However, if Bop keeps bopping the way Bop does, then I'm going to bop myself off a wall.
Maybe this is why I'm getting into tennis, because at least I can have people that win there.
That was such a U-turn we just had there.
Because no one's winning. No one I like is winning.
Okay, pick better drivers.
No, I'd rather have the ones that suffer.
Alex Lynn did okay in Le Mans.
But he didn't win, did he?
Neither did Porsche, and we started on fucking pole. We have added to a terrible statistic.
Pole.
We have added to a terrible statistic, by the way. Did you know? Apart from one team in the past 10 odd years, every team that has been fastest on test day 1 has won Le Mans. We have added to the statistic because we were fastest on test day 1 and we finished 4th.
I thought you said the statistic was that if they were fastest, they won.
Yeah, if they were fastest on test day 1, they won Le Mans. Yeah.
We didn't win.
I know, which is why we've added to the we've reduced from the statistic. We are like that one team that also didn't do it. I think they finished 10th, whichever team it was. A boo.
Didn't. Yeah, but with the test day times, the 12 was one of the fastest as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, the 12 probably would have been faster if. Hey, we'll get onto this soon, okay? Finish F1 before we delve into the issues with the 12. You're done?
Do you want to do? Yeah.
Do we want to do IndyCar and finish off on Le Mans? Okay, none of us watched IndyCar, but Celeste did send us some notes from IndyCar. Not many notes, but we have notes from IndyCar. She put massive crash quali from Joseph. I did hear about him having a massive crash.
I did. Oh, I can speak about it. Actually. I didn't see that one. I saw the other one, which we'll get onto.
Opening crash between Linus and Marcus.
That's what I saw.
Linus put it on pole position and
Venus
didn't last very long. Simpson crashed out by Rasmussen. Incredible race win for Power and Penske dominance. If only the Penske dominance continued into WEC.
I think I saw some really sweet quotes from Will Power after it, because obviously last year they had the situation where his wife was really unwell. And I'm pretty sure he had to pull out some races just to kind of, look after his kids. So I saw some really nice quotes after it, just saying she's on the mend, I'm winning races. I was like, that's so cute.
There is one thing we could talk about with IndyCar. The number 6. McLaren sacked David Malukas because of his broken hand. A week later, he signs with MSR full time. 2 weeks later, a little bit later, however long it was later, he signed with MSR for a full season. Month, maybe. I don't know. Time is really weird right now. Signed with MSR for the rest of the season, replacing Tom Blom. For whatever reason, they sacked Tom off and replaced him with Helio, and now replaced Helio with David Malukas. Happy to see David Maluki back in IndyCar. However, in that time that has taken McLaren to sack him and him to get a new ride, they have had Callum Milot do the Indy 500 for them, hired Teo Pourchaire on full-time for the rest of the season, put him in for one race.
Which he cancelled his Super Formula contract for.
Yeah. He's done one race with them, and now they've replaced him with Noel Siegel, who is the driver who didn't make it through to IndyCar.
Didn't make the 500.
Indy 500, yeah. And he then went to Le Mans this weekend and won Le Mans. And now has an IndyCar seat.
To be fair, he won Le Mans with Autosports. He won Le Mans with United Autosports, who is... Oh my god, you guys.
Sorry, no. The entirety of Le Mans week, every single time someone's gone, to be fair, someone's turned up and gone, to be fair though. And then you'll just hear unanimous people round. Jim and Ian started getting so frustrated with us going, to be fair though.
Really?
To the point that they then just started going, to be fair though, every time someone said to be fair. And it's just an automatic reaction now every time I hear to be fair. To be fair though. If you don't know, it's a Vic Star meme, if for anyone that's watching this and doesn't understand.
If anyone that's watching this and isn't British.
To be fair though.
Anyway. I thought that was Vic. But yeah, so he won Le Mans with United, which is owned by Zach Brown, and then got given that contract, which, like, who does Zach Brown think he is? Cancelling and handing out these contracts left, right, and fucking centre.
Someone with a lot of money.
But I'm very angry.
I do find it very wild.
Alice, you look naked.
I thought that as well. I pulled it up. Do I need to, like, pull this up even more so you guys can see?
Naked then. Anyway. I think it... What angers me the most about it is that these contracts now, like, almost mean nothing, if you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
It shows that you can just cancel it and replace whoever you want halfway through. And then there's no point in doing that.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it at all. Don't get me wrong, love Nolan.
Yeah.
Like, when he didn't make 500, we were literally cheering in my uni house living room. Me and, like, 3 of my friends were screaming, cheering for him. And it was a shame he didn't make it. But I don't know. I mean, obviously it was maybe a worse car, but I don't know what about that showed that he could continue in IndyCar. And he's young. He's my age. I completely get it. He has a long future ahead of him. But, like, you know, Tony, I think it was Tony Kanaan, like, came out and said something.
Isn't he the one that's been causing so much drama on Twitter right now?
Of course he is!
He started fighting Scott McLaughlin, didn't he? And
you know, there's, like, middle-aged family members.
Yeah.
It's like middle-aged family members that can't help themselves with what they're saying.
Yeah.
Scott said, like, you know, I can't believe, like he said, like, can we have a moment of silence for the McLaren contract? And Tony Kanaan said, well, we were going to have a moment of silence for the push to pass in Barber, and we couldn't have that. It was like, excuse me?
And Scott was like, if you're looking for beef, check out this website. I was like, Scott, now is not the time for, you know, promos.
But, like, I don't, like, again, like, who does he think he is saying that?
Literally.
Like, I'm not being funny. It makes me think of, obviously, all the times in F1 where someone deserved a seat and didn't get them. You guys know who I'm thinking about and who with what seat. And okay, personally, I disliked Théo Pourchaire, which is my professional opinion, just in terms of his PR techniques, and I just like it's so unfair on him.
Yeah,
so unfair. And obviously it was really unfair on David Malukas, but I'm angry for Tom Blom. I love Tom Blom.
Very angry for all these drivers that are getting messed around right now.
I know, and he put a post out on Instagram today, like he was like, oh, holidays came sooner than what we thought this year, and I'm like, that's just so mean.
My thing about this whole Pourchaire thing, right, is was it to do with just Aaron McLaren wanting a different driver?
Yeah.
Or after the whole Canapino situation, did he go, don't want to do it, not for a while? The death threats and that lot.
See, I would say that, however, in a now deleted tweet, Théo Pourchaire tweeted about how excited he was to be racing at Laguna Seca.
Oh, okay.
Seca?
Laguna Seca.
Okay, I was correct. Yeah, and then obviously not. But it's the way Zach Brown replied to Teo's tweet saying, you know, don't let the hates get to you, you know, you got this, champ. And then dropped him. It's very sus. I would love to be on a fly on the wall in the situation that is going on behind the scenes. Would love to know what's happening in that camp.
I would. I kill for the IndyCar drama.
Yeah. Fascinating. Talking of IndyCar drivers, the there is one specific IndyCar driver who has come out quite angrily about the IndyCar calendar for next year. Because, for some reason...
Oh, yes! Sorry, I know now.
Every single racing series seems to be stupid. So, there is a thing with the 24 Hours of Le Mans that it is always held on the 24th week of the year. Because they're a bit anal about that kind of thing. They have the 24 Hours of Le Mans on the 24th week of the year.
It's also because it thingies with the longest day of the year, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's the 24th weekend of the year. So, when you're making your calendars, why would you not look and go, oh, that's the 24th weekend of the year. There is a 99.9% chance that Le Mans is going to be on that weekend. So why would you, as FIA Formula 1, put the Canadian Grand Prix on that weekend, and you as IndyCar put a race on that weekend as well? Although Formula 1 drivers... Yeah, Formula 1 drivers do not compete at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. While they're competing in F1, I know there's a whole thing in contracts about that kind of stuff. But IndyCar drivers do. Most importantly, Alex Palou, who finished P7 at the 24 Hours of Le Mans this year in the Cadillac. And he has been pretty vocal about the fact that IndyCar have decided to put a race on the same weekend as Le Mans, which means he can't do both. I could very much see him not doing an IndyCar race weekend to do Le Mans.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what the Formula E drivers do. Mm-hmm. When WEC's on, a lot of the time they do WEC rather than FE.
Yeah, which there is one clash in the calendar for that next year. They moved Berlin from April to July to avoid clashing with WEC. And still clashed with WEC.
That's quite impressive.
I don't know really how you do that. Like, how do you move an event from April to July to avoid clashing and still clash?
That is my favourite thing ever.
It is.
Can you imagine when the WEC calendar came out and they're like, oh, for God's sake!
So, it's going to be very interesting next year whether Formula E drivers will continue doing dual campaigns with WEC, whether someone just choose WEC over Formula E, whether they continue to do the same. It is the 8 hours of Brazil the same week as the
8 hours of Sao Paulo.
Yeah, 8 hours of Sao Paulo is the same week as Berlin Grand Prix. Which I'm pretty sure that's earlier this year. Next year, is it not? No, it can't be, because the WEC calendar is the exact same next year as it is this year. Which is really weird. I'm asking politely for the 6 hours of Silverstone. Please.
It's never gonna get it, never gonna get it.
We used to! Give me it back! I just got a text message saying, do you know Iteo was booted from the arrow seat 2 minutes ago? So on the conversation of WEC and their calendar, we obviously had the 24 Hours of Le Mans, which is the third and final section of the Triple Crown, and has once again opened up a new conversation regarding the Triple Crown. People are now debating whether class wins should count towards the Triple Crown, which someone made a valid point. Would you count winning Monaco in Formula 2 and Formula 3 as Monaco on the Triple Crown? You wouldn't, because it's not considered the prestigious part. So you wouldn't count a class win at Le Mans as a part of the Triple Crown. You have to win the overall.
I disagree.
You disagree. You would disagree, wouldn't you? No.
Like, because no matter what, just because you're not in, say, the fastest car, you still fucking won Le Mans.
Yeah, but you technically didn't win Le Mans. That's like saying Callum Ilott won Le Mans this year.
I kind of did. Well, actually, no, he was on the podium. But
No. He wasn't. He won.
He was.
He won the World Cup. The World Cup. He finished P8. The number 12 Hertzschotter finished P8 in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So, and above him is 2 Ferraris, 2 Toyotas, 2 Porsche Penske's, and a Cadillac. All of those are manufacturers.
Okay.
So,
but no.
as Hertz Team Jota are a team and not a manufacturer.
Talking about at the classes.
They are in the Teams World Cup. And so technically, they won Le Mans because they won the Teams World Cup section of Le Mans. Which would be exactly what you're saying if you said the driver that won the LMP2 won Le Mans in terms of the Triple Crown. Obviously, they still won Le Mans, but I don't think it should count towards the World Cup.
But if it's like GT, like I guess with prototypes it's different, I think. But if it's GTs, like
no, get into the big boy cars and win it from there.
Wow.
Either way, the Ferrari AF Corsa number 51. A lot of controversy regarding that win. I would personally say that I am on the side where I don't think it was a fair win.
I didn't watch a lot of it. I was busy seeing Foo Fighters.
I stayed up for the entire 24 hours. I think the number 8 had a very, very, very strong chance of winning. And they would have won if Ferrari's second car, the 51, didn't take them out and only get a 30-second penalty for it.
Oh.
Yeah. The number...
Amazing.
Was it the number... No, and then the AF Corsa took out the BMW.
I thought the BMW spun by itself. As in Robin.
Why do you think Lawrence Van Thor... Why do you think Lawrence Van Thor is currently having to defend his case and hide his podcast from Poland?
Oh God! I actually have no idea about that.
Yeah, no, it was wild. There was a lot going on. We had like a 4 and a bit hour safety car.
Well,
I know a lot.
Someone's tweeted a very fun graphic.
Oh
right?
no!
So there's this 24 hours in a month. There was such a big focus on the fact that Alpine were returning to the hypercar.
Yep.
You've seen it, okay? Alpine returned to the hypercar category, right? Both Alpines retired. One of them crashed. I'm pretty sure the other one came into the pits.
It wasn't a crash. The something set on fire, and Fernie had to get out of that ASAP, and it was an engine problem. And they realised the engine issue was also in the other car, so they retired the second car to make sure they didn't have the same incident occur again and put their driver at risk.
Well, I couldn't remember the first one. I knew that the second one retired because they pulled it into the pits and it went no. But in total, right, the longest running Alpine completed 5 hours and 36 minutes of the 24 hours at Le Mans. Including all safety cars, the safety car completed a total of 6 hours and 53 minutes, meaning that the safety car completed more time in the 24 hours of Le Mans than both the Alpine hypercars.
Mm-hmm. That
safety car!
That 4 and a bit hour safety car ruined me. Just red flag the race, and then I know I can go home and not have to worry about missing anything.
If they had red flagged it, I would have count my losses, gone, right, let's go back, sit at the campsite, have a shower, thingy. But because they were kept on going, it should only be another 10 minutes, and then we'll like get the starting procedure ready.
It's done like 100 games. Like you go to sleep, I'll go to sleep. Shifts.
Yeah. It was just carried on.
Yeah.
And on.
Stop.
And on.
And it was hell.
But with keeping in with the Alpine returning to hypercar.
Oh no.
Alpine did a very special event because they had some very special people.
Woo, Sophia Flash!
They had Sophia Flash.
You did
They had Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly. So, Alice goes to me on the Wednesday night. Oh, by the way, Alpine are doing a meet and greet, question and answer thing.
I will tell you exactly how this went. We'd just gone back from celebrating Katie's birthday, pre-birthday. Katie's birthday was on the Sunday. This was the Wednesday. You'll see it in the vlog. We did this big birthday thing for her. We did a little murder mystery thing. So we've been about here, there, and we came home and surprised her with a little mini fajita night for her birthday. And she sat in her chair going, this is the best birthday ever. nothing could top this birthday. I don't think anything could be better than this day that you guys have put on for me. Like, nothing can make this birthday even better. And I went, oh, you want to bet? And she went, what? I said, Katie, can you just Google this location for me, Levistiation? Just tell me where it is. She went, yeah, alright. You know where we normally go for the parade? It's just next to there. And I went, oh, alright. What we plan to do tomorrow? She went, nothing. Why? I was like, do you want to make your birthday better? She went, why? I said, well, do you want to take a trip to Levistiation? She went, why? What's going on? I said, oh, Pierre Gasly's there tomorrow. And she was like, what? So Pierre Gasly's there. She went, you're fucking with me. I said, no, I'm not. Pierre Gasly's there with Esteban Ocon. You're fucking with me. Stop lying to me. This isn't a joke. Well, I'm not messing with you. This isn't a joke. Pierre Gasly is in Le Mans Central tomorrow. No, he's not. So I read out the tweet and she went, you're lying. I went, no, I'm not, and handed her my phone. And she went, oh my god, can we go? I said, yeah, we can go. She was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, I'm not going to say no to going and meeting Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon, am I? Like, no, of course. And she was like, really? I was like, yeah. She was like, this is real, yeah? I said, it's tweeted by the Alpine account, Katie.
So the thing is that for the rest of the night and all the morning up until we got there, I was going, I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm not getting my hopes up. No, I'm not going to meet him. Not going to meet him. Not going to meet him. That man, when I tell you, he is 10 times better looking in real life.
He has a very smooth skin.
Oh, so much so that when Kels turns around and she goes, oh, Katie, he looks so much better in real life.
This is also how we know that Esteban Ocon is lovely as well, by the way.
Yeah, and then he trots on past, and I'm like, Pierre, can I get a photo? And the video shows him walking past, he signs a couple of things, and then he goes, I have a photo with Pierre Gasly. If you'd have told me, right, sort of 2 podcasts ago when I'm going on about Pierre getting his points, I would have met Pierre Gasly. In the words of Kimi Räikkönen, whoa. But funny enough, when I was doing my little murder mystery thing, Alice had to keep me from thinking, like, keep going back to the campsite where they were getting the cake and the fajitas and that lot. So I went, oh, I've got birthday money. Trot along into the Alpine shop, brought myself my first Pierre Gasly top, actual branded, like with his name and his number on the back, and then I met him the day after.
It's a sign.
It's a sign. I literally sent a message to group chat. I said, I didn't realise me taking Kate on a murder mystery tour meant I spent money too. Because I don't remember signing up for that deal. But I bought myself
What did you buy?
I bought a Hertz Jotter hat. Wherever it is. It's here.
Lovely.
My new
My
baby.
hats are actually over there. I got the collection of hats over there. It's in London. The usual London collection of hats.
Although Le Mans is obviously a 24-hour race, I feel like there's not much to talk about. Most of it is a blur to me because I was awake for 24 hours watching it and things fade into another. The most I remember is this 4-hour safety car, all of these really random penalties being given out.
What, the first
Ferrari
20 minutes?
51 got a 5-second penalty for something randomly.
So
Ending a race,
sure
damaging a
the
car.
50 got 10 seconds for the mechanic cleaning the windscreen while they were still refueling, which is a big no-no. If they're refueling, you're not allowed to touch the car until that refueling's taken off. So he jumped on the car and was cleaning, got 10 seconds. Literally 2 minutes later, the 51 came in for its first pit and got an unsafe release. Like, it was an awful unsafe release. Like, how, yeah, there was no questioning that it was an unsafe release. They got 10 seconds. In the first 20 minutes, the 2 Ferraris had 10-second penalties each.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure. So the Ferrari drove around with the door open on their car for a good few laps. and
bad.
never came into the pit to deal with it. And I'm pretty sure they didn't get a penalty for it, or if they did, it was
I think
very,
they got
very light
5
penalty.
seconds.
That might have been their 5-second penalty. Was
they got
driving
5
around
seconds.
with the door open.
But that's nothing. Like, the safety. Come on, Conor Freitas, he knows better than to like let that slide.
Oh no, this is what I mean. Like, the penalty situation at Le Mans was very, very weird. I think it was it's just weird. Obviously, the Toyota finished P2 with Kamui Kobayashi, Jose Maria Lopez, and Nick de Vries. Also, if you want a really fun statistic, the top 9 drivers all finished the race on the same lap 311, which is wild because that never happens.
Oh my god,
where everyone's on the same lap.
Wheeling Cadillac number. Sorry.
Obviously, the other Ferrari finished P3, a second ahead of the Porsche Penske. So if that Ferrari had probably been penalised correctly for driving around with the door open, Porsche probably would have won.
The only other thing I remember from it is in the last hour. This is, bear in mind, the only thing I remember because I hardly watched any of it. I think I was watching this by the pool, and within all the rain, as it was pouring down, the number 2 Cadillac windscreen wipers stopped working. Which is just, it's also typical. It's just great.
We went downhill this weekend, and Ferrari and Toyota ended up winning. So clearly, this is the thing, is what I was saying to Katie, right, is I don't really know what's going on with Bob, because obviously Ferrari didn't get bopped that hard because of lack of result throughout the season so far, which valid. But also, they haven't had a lack of result because of the speed of the car, because the car's been pretty quick. It's because of issues throughout the race is why they've been getting lack of results, more so than speed of the car. But Porsche Penske is still on top. Toyota is P3 now, and Ferrari have gone up to P2, I think.
I just hope you'll both lose.
Thank you, I think. The number 12, Hertz Jota, qualified through to Hyperpole, because the top 8 drivers actually went through to Hyperpole this year. And then Callum Ilott put the car in the wall. And not
he didn't just put it in the wall.
He buried it into a metal wall and destroyed the car. And what should have been 3 weeks worth of building a car took the team 24 hours. Yellow.
I have another theory.
Oh no.
If we get Callum in the Monaco Grand Prix, he will crash. And I know you're thinking, what? That's weird. But if we think about his first year at the Indy 500, what did he do? He crashed. He broke his hand. And remember fat hand Callum?
Yeah.
Le Mans crash.
Did he crash when he did Monaco in F2 or still? Callum Ilott. Monaco did not start on the 14th.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
I actually have a beef.
He was on pole and he just didn't start.
I have beefs with a bunch of drivers after this weekend. Callum Ilott being one of them. He tried to throw me a bucket hat and has 0 aim, so he should stick to motorsport. Completely missed throwing me a hat. Don't have beef with Nick de Vries. He has a pretty good aim. Do have beef with Louis Delatra. He tried to take my eye out, laughed at the fact he almost took my eye out, and then attempted to do it again. He was pinging wristbands, one of these ones, right?
Pinging them,
right? And he was also throwing them like this, right? And he throws it, and it comes like this towards my face, and I have to put my hands up to defend it from hitting my face. And in the video, you can see him go, and then throw another one, like dashes it like that at my face, and then just smiles as he goes off.
He's like me.
Shock. Yeah. So.
Yeah, maybe a new conspiracy theory. Callum Ilott versus the Triple Crown.
But yeah, so Le Mans was wild. That number 12, after its crash and its rebuild, finished P8, which is phenomenal.
Insane.
Finished on the same lap as the number 1 did, the car that finished in P1, which is, phenomenal. Yeah, obviously you guys will see more in depth our adventures at Le Mans. I haven't gone through all of the footage that we've gotten from the different days, so some vlogs will definitely be shorter than others. Depends what we got up to. We obviously arrived on the Monday and set up. Tuesday was the driver signing, which we went to, which was great. And got to go on the track. It was very windy and very cold. I'm pretty sure we just headed back to camp and had food after that. Wednesday was qualifying, and we did Katie's birthday thing, so that's a really fun vlog. We'll see if you guys can figure out who the murderer was. Thursday was...
I'm gonna have fun with that.
Thursday was Hyperpole, and obviously going into Le Mans Centre to go see Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon and Sophia Flörsch. And Friday was obviously the driver's parade. And we went to go see the Euros in an Irish pub, and then left at half time because Scotland were losing, and a bunch of German fans decided to go into an Irish pub to watch Germany v Scotland. Which anyone that knows any sort of UK culture knows that is a recipe for disaster, especially because there was a bunch of English fans also in this pub watching Germany v Scotland and rooting for Scotland. Thank you guys for listening to the Poddy Pod. We have a very, very busy weekend this week in terms of racing. I do think there is a couple weeks until the next podcast, I believe, because obviously we have a load of Le Mans vlogs to come out that we do need to get out before the London E-Prix, which is 1 month away.
That's a chance before that.
Yep, so we've got lots and lots and lots to get through this weekend. Make sure you check out our Instagram to keep up to date with everything racing that's happening this weekend and the forthcoming weekends. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see our Le Mans vlogs, which are coming soon. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. Leave any comments down below on anything and everything, anything you want us to discuss, talk about, what you thought of the races. Check out our website as well, parcfem.co.uk. All the articles and everything go out about different series, mainly F1, F2, F3, Formula 1 Academy, British Touring Cars and Formula E. All of our social medias are at parcfem_, that's Twitter, TikTok and Instagram if you want to check out any of those. And for now, ciao bella.
Ciao bella.
Ciao bella.